to a brand new episode of Virtual Coffee. My name is Alexa Collier, and on this podcast, I usually sit down and interview and chat with early career professionals and small business owners. But every once in a while, I like to record some solo episodes. I might be doing more of these as we finish out 2021. I've just been getting some inspiration on some solo episodes ideas. So let me know if you want to see more of them or would rather the interviews. But before we kick off today's episode, which is going to be about a growth versus fixed mindset, I'd really appreciate, as always, if you could rate and review Virtual Coffee on the Apple Podcast app if you haven't done so already. It really helps us out, helps others discover us who might be interested in hearing this content. And you can also follow us along on all social medias, Instagram, Facebook, etc. It's all at Virtual Coffee Podcast. And as always, thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. Now, let's dive into this solo episode. I actually wanted to start off with a life update. I never do these, and I feel like I want to start incorporating them into the episodes. Just podcasts I listen to, I really enjoy when they do life updates in the beginning, so let's try it out. This last weekend was the 4th of July here in the United States, and it was nice. It was nice to have a 3-day weekend. I say this after every 3-day weekend, but I wish every weekend was 3 days. I would so happily work 10 hours for 4 days. I basically do that anyway, so it would be pretty easy to do that and then have 3 days off, just because you have 1 day to relax, 1 day to catch up on chores, and then 1 day for whatever you want, for whatever event. But anyways, this last weekend was really nice. My family visited, so my mom, dad, and brother were here. They stayed here in Wake Forest, and we just went to the pool. We went to Drive Shack, which is Top Golf in Raleigh. It was really fun, and it was really inexpensive too to go. So highly recommend if you're in the Raleigh area, go to Drive Shack. I'm not sure if Top Golf is just as affordable, but it was really fun. And some of our living room furniture finally came that Nathan, my husband, and I have been waiting months on to get delivered. So that was also very exciting. We got our couch in our living room. We're still waiting on the love seat. And also the 3 bar stools arrived, which were giving me anxiety because the bar stools, we ordered bar stool height, but I guess we actually need counter stool height. But I don't know. These stools are really nice. They look great in the space. They're just a little high. I can still sit in them fine. So can Nathan. So I don't think it's that big of a deal. But anyways, I can't return them because they were on clearance, and sure, I could sell them, but I don't know. I like how they look a lot, and they're only ever for like overflow seating anyway. So I think I'm just going to accept it and keep them because returning them and finding new ones is too much of a hassle, and we waited so long for these. And like I said, I really do like how they look. So whatever. Enough about bar stools. Clearly, that's been on my mind for the past 3 days. Anyways, that was my little life update. Like I said, just trying something new on these episodes and seeing if it sticks. But like I said earlier, today we're going to talk about growth versus fixed mindset. Reason why is this has been on my mind. It's always been a topic that we discuss at work, but lately I've been having conversations with someone at work about this pretty deeply, and it's been really nice to think about. And it seems straightforward, like a growth versus fixed mindset. You can probably assume what that means, but if you look into it, it gets you thinking. And I just wanted to discuss it here in case you've never heard about it or just wanted to hear a new take on it. And of course, I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. So definitely head over to Instagram, write in your comments, leave a review with your comments. Would just love to hear what you think about this topic. So if you have no idea what growth versus fixed mindset is, a growth mindset by definition means that you believe intelligence and talent can be improved. So no one has a limit to their intelligence or talent. You can always practice, study, and become more intelligent at XYZ thing, and no one's intelligence has a limit. Now, a fixed mindset is the complete opposite of that. You believe that talent and intelligence are fixed. People have a limit to their intelligence and talent, and no matter how hard you study or try, that'll never grow. It's fixed, done, can't do anything about it. Sorry, good luck. So just a little bit more about growth and fix. So growth, you embrace flaws and mistakes. You see them as opportunities for growth. So if you make a mistake, sure, you might be sad about it for a little bit, but overall you get over it and you learn from it. You're always going to grow, clearly, from your mistakes. You accept setbacks as part of the learning process. So, hey, yeah, did this wrong or didn't get this, or man, that went wrong. And that's just part of the learning process. You get back up on your feet. It's okay that you fell and you try again harder or you try again next time. And with a growth mindset, you also feel empowered to reach your goals. You have milestones and you know you can reach them. You want to reach them. You're ready to reach them. You'll do almost anything to reach them, right? You're feeling empowered to get there. Versus a fixed mindset, you tend to hide your flaws and mistakes. You're perhaps ashamed about them. You're ashamed about failure. Instead of learning from it, you probably just beat yourself up over and over and over again and never stop beating yourself up over your mistakes. You give up easily. So if a setback happens, you're like, oh, that wasn't meant to be. I'm giving up on that goal. I'm giving up on that task. I'm not going to try again. And you're unmotivated to achieve goals. So sure, you might have some goals, but it's like, I'll get there if I get there. If I don't, whatever. If a mistake happens, then I'm just going to give up on it. So those are the more formal definitions of growth versus fixed that, I found online and just what I know about it as well. So you can actually take a quiz. Just search growth versus mindset quiz online. It's free to see where you're at, just kind of naturally. And of course, with all quizzes, you can change day to day. We know that. But when I took it, I was in the middle, which did at first surprise me because I just thought, of course, I have a growth mindset, just with the type of work I'm in, the type of team I'm on, my personality. Like, why wouldn't I have a growth mindset? But I was actually in the middle between growth and fixed. And this got me thinking. So I think why at first I was in the middle is because I did have this thought process of, isn't part of our intelligence limited, right? Like, isn't there some limit to what we can do or what we can learn? So for example, right, I was thinking someone could practice piano every single day, but might never be as good as Beethoven was. Or someone can practice baseball every day, but never make it to the MLB or play like Derek Jeter. Like, there's a limit to how well you can be at baseball. There's a limit to how well you can play the piano. And I was just thinking, like, how much of that is natural talent versus learned talent, right? There's certain things we're naturally gifted at, and there's some things we have to work hard and learn, and we might never be as good as someone who's naturally gifted at that thing. So I think that's one of the reasons why I was in the middle, right? Because that's more of a fixed mindset thought process. And then I also was thinking, well, some things are just impossible, right? Like, some things you will just literally never be able to do. It's just not possible on this earth. Isn't that a fixed mindset? Like, how can you have a growth mindset about something if it's literally impossible to do it? Like, I don't know, grow a flower out of your head. Like, that's just impossible. No matter how much of a growth mindset you have, you'll never be able to grow a flower out of your head. It's a stupid example, but you know what I mean. And I think what I started to realize through conversations at work and just by it being on my mind, honestly, and noodling around with it, is having a growth mindset doesn't mean you aren't realistic or think impossible things can happen. I think there's a difference between fact and fiction, right? Like, impossible versus possible. I don't think growth mindset means you think anything can happen, absolutely anything in the world. No, I think you can be a realistic dreamer, which is one of my favorite phrases from the past few years. So we'll dig into that realization in a second, but I was also thinking when I was taking this quiz and after seeing that I was in the middle, I started to think, well, why is fixed mindset always a bad thing? Like, can it be good sometimes? Why does it always have to be fixed or growth? It can't be both, or it can't be sometimes growth, sometimes fixed. So for example, if you think about like entering data into an Excel spreadsheet, as a task? Don't you want a fixed mindset so that you can just get that task done as quickly and as efficiently as possible? Like, don't you want a fixed mindset? You don't want to be like thinking about some new innovative way to like enter data and like that takes you for like, you just want to get the task done. And I realized again through conversations and just thinking about it that no, even with that task, you still want a growth mindset. Because for example, if you had a fixed mindset and you entered a number wrong or accidentally deleted a whole column or something like that in Excel, with a fixed mindset, you would think everything is terrible. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I made that mistake. I'm just going to give up, delete this whole file, and just never complete this task. You don't want to think that, right? So a growth mindset would let you make that mistake, you learn from it, and you evolve from it. And you also, with a fixed mindset, going just with this Excel example, you don't want to think that there's only one way to enter this data. So while, like I said before, you don't want to spend hours trying to invent a new way to enter data because that's just kind of time wasted, but you might come up with a way to do things more efficiently if you have that growth mindset. Maybe you put in calculations or formulas into your Excel spreadsheet, and because you have a growth mindset, you're able to do your job even more efficiently, more quickly, better, right? Because you were thinking, I can always learn more. I can always have a bigger goal. I can always do better. So through the past few weeks, I've been realizing that a growth mindset is good and a fixed mindset is bad. And those are just two statements. It's not growth and fix. It's not sometimes growth, sometimes fixed. You always want a growth mindset. Now, for me, how I define a growth mindset, right? It's about learning from your mistakes, which I think it's very important to state. I don't think it means you can't be upset that you made a mistake or you can't be sad or disappointed in yourself. Like, that's okay to feel those feelings, but you can't let those feelings drag on for days and weeks and let that set you back. You can be sad, feel it, accept it, and then you learn and you move on. And that's something I've been trying to teach myself is accepting that I am a person who gets sad about mistakes and disappointed in myself. So I suck it up. I let myself feel the feelings for the rest of the day. I just accept this is a sucky day and I just need to get through to it. Just need to get to bed. And then I wake up the next day and I realize, okay, I felt my bad feelings and now I can accept that mistake and move on from it. And more importantly, learn from it. And I think, going back to that realistic dreamer phrase, I think that means you know your goals and you have stretch goals and you're motivated to obtain those goals. You feel empowered through your growth mindset, but you also know what's reasonable. That's the realistic part, right? You don't want to have too overreaching goals or literally impossible goals because then you'll never be satisfied. You'll never, quote unquote, win. But you can scale up over time. So you can start with a reasonable goal, accomplish it. Great. Now have a bigger goal. Now have a bigger goal. Now have a bigger goal, etc. And that's the growth, right? I think another important part of having a growth mindset, it's not A to Z, it's A, B, C, D, right? All the way to Z. You take it step by step, day by day, and you eventually get there. You eventually get to Z, but you can't skip all the letters. Maybe skip some, but you can't go from A to Z. I think that's unrealistic for me personally. And then another thing I wanted to mention is that a good practice to start to just dive into growth mindset a little bit more if you feel like you don't have one or you could have more of a growth mindset. On our team, we take inspiration from Jocko. Look up Jocko's good video, Jocko. I won't get too much into Jocko, maybe in another episode, but he's a military veteran turned like consultant for companies. He's pretty cool. He has his own podcast. Look into him. But anyway, watch his good video. And essentially, the summary of that video is whenever anything bad happens that makes you sad, disappointed, etc., you make a mistake, you respond with good. So, didn't enter that number right in the Excel sheet? Good. You'll never do it again. Or good. You learned a new way to enter a number. Or good. You learned a way to double check your work, right? There's always a good side. There's always something to learn from your mistakes. And that to me is the essence of that growth mindset. And just saying good can be really funny and it can be funny with your teammates, but it really is an awesome thing to embrace and a great mindset to have. So that's my take on growth versus fixed mindset. Again, would love to hear your thoughts, but I do truly believe that everyone should strive to have that growth mindset and get out of our fixed mindset tendencies. Again, be realistic, feel your feelings, but ultimately end with that growth mindset. Don't stay in that fixed mindset for too long, because that's when it gets toxic. That's when it gets bad. That's when it holds you back. And I did ask on Instagram if anyone had thoughts, and someone said, and I quote, "I've read we're constantly in a state of balance between both a fixed and growth mindset. To what extent is accepting that balance is okay versus driving towards a complete growth mindset in everything we do?" And this kind of summarizes, my thoughts throughout the past few weeks. Like, why can't it sometimes be fixed and sometimes be growth? I personally believe, like I said, always end with growth. So sure, maybe in a moment you have a fixed mindset because you're like, I can't believe I made that mistake. That's so terrible. I just want to give up. Again, it's okay to feel those feelings. We can't just be unrealistically positive all the time. I don't think that's possible. So maybe in a moment you're in a fixed mindset, but as long as you end in growth mindset, as long as you get to growth mindset and that's your final feeling on that mistake, on that thing, then I think you're good to go. So yes, perhaps you're always in a state, between fixed and growth. For some people, maybe that works. I always strive to just end in that growth mindset. But yeah, I do think it's impossible to every single second of every single day be in a growth mindset. For some people, that's possible. Awesome. For me, it's not. But I'm working on always ending in a growth mindset. So yeah, that's what I have on growth versus fixed mindset. My solo episodes are always a little bit shorter. I like to just kind of sprinkle in my perspectives, my thoughts. And if you have a topic you'd like me to touch upon, definitely let me know on Instagram, Facebook, any social medias, in a review on the podcast, email me, you know where to reach me. But of course, again, thank you all so much for listening and would love to hear your thoughts on this wherever you want to leave them. Thank you so much, and I hope you guys have a great week. Happy Tuesday when I'm publishing this and when I'm recording it, actually. And I will see you next week. Thank you all. Have a good week.